Hello and welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. I am your host, Colleta Macharia, life coach and author of the book, How to Design Your Career Game Plan. I want to start by telling you the story of Anansi the spider. Now, Anansi wanted to be in 4 different villages at the same time because he learned that they were going to be having feasts in those villages. And so what Anansi did is that he tied 4 ropes on his waist, and then he had 4 of his sons stationed at the different villages, and he gave them instructions. He said, once the food is ready in your village, just give this rope a tug, and I will fill it and come to that village, eat, and then go to the next village. And so after waiting for a while, Anansi felt this tug, a tug on one side, and then another, and soon all 4 sons were pulling. And Anansi was in this space where he was confused. And it turns out that the food was ready at the same time in the 4 villages. And so Anansi ended up going nowhere. In fact, what ended up happening is that his waist now became so small because of the pull of the ropes. Now, what Anansi's story demonstrates is this Swahili proverbs that says, Mtaka yote hukosa yote, meaning that he who desires all misses all. Anansi's story also reminds us that FOMO, that is the fear of missing out, is not a 21st century disease. It's something that has been around ever since the time when creatures like Anansi could do these tricks of, tying ropes around their waists. According to the World Journal of Clinical Cases, the term fear of missing out, FOMO in short, became popular in the year 2004. And that is when Facebook was launched. And with the advent of Facebook, that meant that we could catch a glimpse into people's lives and their friendships. And that, use of social media has continued, extended beyond Facebook, and so has the anxiety around seeing what people are doing and feeling like you're missing out on that. Anyway, going back to Anansi the spider. As Anansi's situation shows, social media is not the only place where FOMO plays itself out. But what if, unlike the story of Anansi, who wanted to be in 4 different places at the same time, you find yourself being pulled in different directions that you do not even want to be in? What if you find yourself being invited to those recurring meetings that happen only because they're scheduled on the calendar and not because there is necessarily an agenda or a reason to meet? Here are 3 things to do when that happens. First thing, ask for an agenda. When there is an agenda that is intentional and that is explicit, it's very clear, it states very clearly what is going to be discussed in the meeting, there's a high chance that that meeting will be productive. But if it's the opposite, then just decline, because chances are that that meeting is not going to be productive. Number 2, find out what contribution you need to be making in that meeting, or what role you're supposed to be playing. So if your opinion, expertise, experience, and knowledge or skill is required in that meeting, then by all means, say yes and attend. But if you're there, just as part of the crowd and not necessarily contributing in any meaningful way, then decline. And sometimes you could be, these meetings are called just for information. The question to ask is, are there other ways to get this information without spending so much time in a meeting? For example, can that information be communicated via email, or can it be shared on other platforms where you can access? If not, then let the meeting go on without you, and then you ask for the minutes or for the recording and inform yourself that way. Number 3, and this is my favorite, schedule times of focused work on your calendar. All right? You can choose to call them focused moments or quiet time if you like. Because sometimes what happens is that when a meeting is called and you look at your calendar and realize that, oh, I have a window, that time, there is nothing scheduled for it, then the temptation is to say yes. But if you have actually scheduled focused time for yourself or time to do focused work, then you will not fall into the temptation of accepting a meeting just to be nice, even though your presence there is not necessarily required, or even though it's not a meeting that has a compelling agenda. So there are my 3 ways, and I'm curious to hear from you. How do you handle invitations to meetings that you consider unnecessary, or meetings that do not really require your presence? Drop me a comment and let me know how you handle that. Have a focused week, keep shining, and see you on the next episode. The Work in Progress podcast is brought to you by Cogent Afrique. Visit www.cogentafrique.com to check out learning and development opportunities for you, your team, organization, and family.